in places so remote, maps dare not name them, where only the whispers of wind pass through the trees. There are forests no one leaves the same as they entered. There, your strength means nothing. Your screams are useless. The woods see, they hear, and they wait for their next prey. This isn't just a horror story. It's a warning of what you might face if you ever step into the wrong forest. Deep in the heart of the Appalachian Mountains lies a dense forest known only as the Whispering Woods. Legend has it that the forest is cursed, haunted by the spirits of those who dared to venture too deep into its depths. It is said that once you enter the Whispering Woods, you never return the same. Many have tried to unravel the mysteries of the forest, but few have succeeded. Those who have ventured and have reported hearing whispers in the wind, eerie laughter echoing through the trees, and shadows that seem to move on their own. But perhaps the most chilling of all are the tales of the lost ones, those who wandered too far and were never seen again. Among the brave souls who dared to explore the Whispering Woods was a group of college students on a camping trip. They had heard the stories, but they laughed them off as mere superstition. Little did they know, they were about to embark on a journey they would never forget. As night fell and the campfire crackled, the students shared ghost stories, trying to outdo one another with tales of horror. But as the flames died down and darkness enveloped the forest, they began to feel a sense of unease. One by one, they heard strange noises in the distance, whispers that seemed to come from all around them. Terrified, they huddled together, hoping to find comfort in each other's presence. But as the night wore on, their fear only grew stronger. Suddenly, they heard a blood-curdling scream pierce the silence. Without hesitation, they grabbed their flashlights and set out to find the source of the sound. But as they ventured deeper into the forest, they realized they were hopelessly lost. Panic set in as they stumbled through the darkness, their footsteps echoing in the eerie silence. Shadows danced around them, and the whispering grew louder, as if the forest itself was trying to swallow them whole. Exhausted and terrified, they finally stumbled upon an old cabin hidden deep within the woods. Desperate for shelter, they pushed open the creaky door and stepped inside. But what they found inside was far worse than anything they could have imagined. The walls were adorned with strange symbols, and the air was thick with the smell of decay. As they explored further, they discovered the remains of those who had come before them, their bodies twisted and contorted in grotesque poses. But before they could flee, they heard a voice, a chilling whisper that seemed to come from all around them. "You are not alone," it hissed, sending shivers down their spines. Terrified, they ran for their lives, their screams echoing through the forest as they desperately tried to escape the horrors that lurked within the Whispering Woods. But as they fled, they knew deep down that they would never truly leave the forest behind. For once you enter the Whispering Woods, you are forever haunted by its dark secrets. I was 14 years old, and it was an autumn morning in a suburb in southeastern Wisconsin when a neighborhood girl I had never talked to much knocked on my apartment door. She wanted me to go outside to hang out. I wasn't doing anything else, so I accepted the offer. Once outside, we were walking around and talking when she mentioned a nearby large wooded area down the street. I was familiar with this place from playing soccer across the street from it, but she went on to tell me details about the woods that I did not know. She tells how the woods are haunted by Native American spirits, and that you can sometimes hear tribal drums playing from the woods if you're nearby. I thought her stories about the woods were ridiculous. I didn't believe her, but I continued to entertain the story. I thought she liked me and was just trying to scare me or something. However, I was curious. I am not a 100% paranormal skeptic. I can be very intrigued by ghosts and the afterlife, especially if it's in real life. I asked her if we could go to the woods, just to check it out. I wanted to see if there was anything that could convince me that her stories were true. The streets were empty, the sidewalks bare. No one outside but us. The wood's overgrowth stretched on over the sidewalk, and branches were reaching out at us. But the entrance was further ahead another 100 feet or so, and that was when we heard it, deep in the woods to our left, banging drums. It sounded like it was straight out of a Native American dancing event. There were no cymbals or other instruments or music being played, just the deep rhythmic pounding of drums. That was when I ran back to my apartment. What the hell was that? I thought to myself, heart pounding. The last thing I expected to experience near those woods was the exact situation she had previously described to me. Banging drums. I tried to explain it to myself, but couldn't come up with any answers. There isn't any way that an actual performance was happening. I'd be aware of an event like that, as it's right by me, and my suburb is tiny. It couldn't have been random people playing drums that she had heard before and was now setting me up. Where she lives/came from before knocking on my door is the complete opposite direction. Not even in my apartments. She didn't play sounds off her phone quietly to give an illusion of distant drums. Her phone was out and off. I was absolutely struck with curiosity and fear, but wanted to explore more. However, I felt that I needed backup. I told some neighborhood friends about it, and we went to check the woods out. We got further than just the sidewalk, make it to the first large entrance. It was an opening into an empty clearing half the size of a football field. There was nothing to see, so we entered the actual woods through a little opening on the opposite end of the clearing of the first entrance. Once inside, everyone is already feeling off. There were no drum noises heard this time, but there were no other noises in the woods either. Not even a bird or cricket chirp. It also felt colder than it did outside the woods, which is odd as well. Eventually, after getting deeper in the woods, everyone gives a similar update on their condition. Our heads felt clouded, as if we had concussions or were in a daze. It also smelled very heavily of tobacco. Then we heard the first sounds from the woods, crunching of leaves, and the feeling of hearing extra footsteps behind us. We decided that was it, and ran to the exit, leaving and never coming back again, but always taking fearful, curious glances of the woods down the street. That's all for my story. I know it isn't the scariest story, but it's true. I sugarcoated nothing, and even living 30 minutes away from where this happened and being 6 years older, I feel absolute chills thinking about it. Something I didn't mention in the story is that when in the woods, I had numerous visions of myself dying via spears and arrows launched by a large muscular toned Native American man with a feathered headdress. I obeyed without resistance. I wasn't in control. I could hear and see everything, but I had no will. Mon was in full control. I lay down, and he knelt beside me with a bottle in his hand. He opened it, poured 2 drops onto his palm, and wiped them over my eyes. At that moment, I couldn't see anything, just darkness. Then my vision returned, and I saw the room filled with smoke. The smoke began to take shape, forming a terrifying demonic creature. The creature approached Mon, who began chatting again, addressing the demon. Then it moved toward me, and a physical encounter began between me and the creature. I could feel it happening, but I couldn't move or resist. I couldn't stop what was happening. When it was over, the creature vanished, and I regained my awareness. We left the room, and Mon told Marco, "Now I can tell you. Congratulations, your wife will be pregnant, but the most important thing is, do not go to any doctor. I will oversee the pregnancy myself, and when the time comes, I will deliver the child. My final warning, don't see any doctor." We left Mon's house, and I was in a strange state, lost, unable to speak. Even when Marco asked what had happened, I said, "I don't remember anything," but I did remember everything. I just couldn't speak. Not because I was scared, I literally couldn't produce words. It was bizarre. A week passed, and during that week, I kept seeing the same demonic creature whenever I was with Marco. At the moment of intimacy, Marco's face would transform into the demon's face. The same thing would happen again, and I would be under hypnosis once more, unable to stop or reject anything that was happening. The situation continued for a week, until I began to feel extremely tired stomach pain, vomiting, and all the symptoms of pregnancy. Then I heard a voice inside me say, "The heir is on his way." It was a clear internal voice. Of course, I didn't go to the doctor because Mon had warned us against it. I didn't understand why at the time, but as the days passed, my condition got worse. After a month, my belly started to grow something completely abnormal for the first month of pregnancy. When I became weaker, stopped eating, and grew extremely thin, I decided I had to check on my health. I went to a doctor. When she examined me, she told me something I'd never expected to hear. She said, "All the signs show you're pregnant. I can hear a fetal heartbeat, which is impossible in the first month. The fetus doesn't even show up on the ultrasound. I can't explain this." That's when I understood why Mon warned us not to go to any doctor, because he knew this would happen. The fetus wouldn't appear in any scan to begin with. I left the doctor's office and returned home. As soon as I entered the apartment, I felt sharp, unbearable pain in my stomach. Then I saw Mon coming out of my bedroom. His face was terrifying, and he looked furious. Marco wasn't home, he was at work. But how did Mon even get into my apartment? Mon approached me, grabbed my hand tightly, and said angrily, "Didn't I tell you not to go to the doctor?" As soon as he said that, the demonic creature suddenly appeared from nowhere. He stood next to Mon and pointed at me. Then Mon grabbed my hand and said, "Come on, my heir must be delivered now." "What do you mean? I don't understand." "I mean you're going to give birth right now. You made a terrible mistake by going to the doctor. This will put my heir in danger if he doesn't come out immediately. I told you I would come to deliver the baby myself, but you didn't listen." He spoke with extreme anger. I was in shock. How could I give birth when I had only been pregnant for 1 week? What kind of baby comes out after just 1 week unless it's a demon? Mon took me by the hand. I felt like I was drugged. He led me to my room, pointed to the bed, and said, "Lie down." I went to the bed and lay down. The demonic creature approached me and placed his black hand with long claws on my stomach and began pressing down hard. I was in pain but couldn't scream, my voice wouldn't come out. He kept pressing and pressing until I saw him pull a baby out of my stomach. A baby that looked several months old, not a newborn. It was unbelievable. The creature held the baby, who was a perfect replica of the demon himself, horns on his head, a hideous appearance I can't describe. He handed the baby to Mon, and Mon held him joyfully, saying as he hugged him, "My heir, you are the one who will carry on my legacy." And in that moment, I witnessed the most horrifying scene of my life, something I never imagined could happen. The first shock was that Mon turned into Marco. Yes, he physically transformed into my husband Marco. He approached me smiling and said, "Yes, it's me. And do you know why I married you? What man agrees to stay with a woman who can't have children? I stayed because I knew my heir would come from you. I was looking for a woman who couldn't conceive, and I found you. But do you know who I really am?" The moment he said, "Do you know who I really am?" his face transformed into something more horrific than the demon I had seen every day. He became Satan himself. That was the second shock. Marco was never Marco. He was the devil all along, and he came for his heir. The devil told me he would stay with me until the heir reaches a certain age, and then he would return to take him. As for me, I would remain locked in this room you see me in now. I will stay here until he returns to collect his heir. I read her story and was in complete shock. Could this really be true? As soon as the story ended, the screen went black, and I was kicked out of the dark web completely. It was a journey I had taken, and one I will never repeat. It shook me to the core. That was my story, and I warn anyone thinking of entering that world. I came out physically unharmed, but my mind is still haunted by everything I saw.